As we broadcast today from the Greek Festival located on the grounds of St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church, an annual event. Somebody asked me just a few minutes ago how long we've been coming here, and I have to say, I don't know. It's been decades, I know that. And one of the things we get to do when we come to the Greek Festival is sit down and have a conversation with the priest here at the church, and he is Father Timothy Cook, and we are pleased to say good morning to Father Cook this morning.
Good morning, Art. How are you?
Good to see you. Good to see you. How has the year been for St. Demetrius?
It's been a good year. It's been a busy year since, let's see, so we haven't spoken since last June. The church was actually consecrated this last October.
Which means what?
It's basically the baptism of a church. In fact, it's all the things we do for a baptism, we also do for the consecration.
All right, so I have to ask, for me as a layman, an obvious question. What took so long? The church has been here a while.
The church has been here for a while. So this, the church community was founded in 1937, and this church was built in 1970. There are a few things that you usually wait for before you consecrate a church. One of it is for it to be actually finished, because you'll often start to use a church before even like some of the flooring is in. You'll wait for the mortgage to be discharged, and I think one of the things that we were waiting on was the finishing of the iconography, which is still not complete. But we also
is it ever finished?
I think probably not, because by the time you finish it, then there's usually something that needs to be replaced. And, it's like owning a home, only bigger and
so
you're in it for longer.
What's happened that brought you to this point to consecrate the church now?
We've actually tried several times and never quite got off the ground, so I'm going to go with the Holy Spirit and leave it at that. Because for whatever reason, when we tried again, we started it in 2022, that process, we actually, there was actually traction, and then in 23 and 24, it just took off.
Is it a process, or is it just a service, like a baptism?
It is a service, but it's about 5 hours long. So
you're consecrating everybody.
Because there's just a lot that goes into it, because there are relics that are placed inside the altar, and then those are sealed with a combination of marble dust, and then start getting
no, that's fine. Go, keep going.
Then a mixture of beeswax, and then various spices that are all ground together. The church you can still smell it in the church, actually. And then the altar is washed, first with regular water and then with holy water.
All this is happening during the service?
During the service. This is actually fairly late in the service, because we process around the entire church 3 times with all the bishops and the clergy and the people. We have pictures of this on our website, by the way, if you want to look it up. It was a spectacular day. It was actually, considering it was October 26th, it was a beautiful day. We were really worried it was going to be cold or even snowing, but it was about 55 degrees and bright sun.
You bring in church hierarchy from outside the area?
So the Archbishop from New York came, and then our Metropolitan from Detroit came. We weren't expecting the Archbishop to come, so that was not a last-minute change, but we found out, I think, 3 months beforehand that he was coming and had to adjust. That was a great blessing, not only for the Archbishop, but the Archdeacon also came, who is kind of the national expert on consecration. So that meant that as soon as we got that word that they were both coming, I got to start texting the Archdeacon with all my questions. So no, the
altar. You've never done a consecration before?
I had never seen one.
Wow, so it was a learning experience for you too.
Yes, for all of us. So yeah, after the altar is washed, then it's anointed with chrism, which is the same chrism that we use in baptisms. And then that is wiped off using special cloths, and that's a whole different conversation. And then it's vested in a white cloth, which represents, I think, the burial shroud of Christ, which then the Archbishop or the consecrating bishops both sign, and then write the date on it. And then it's vested with the usual cloths, and then the glass and all the normal altar items, the altar furniture, and then that same chrism is used to anoint the 4 walls of the church, north, south, east, and west. Actually, east, west, north, south,
so
in that order.
This is about the building.
It's about the building. First and foremost about the altar, because that's the centerpiece. That's the focal point of everything. And then about the rest of the building.
Let me ask, as a matter of fact, it was last year. I think I stood in the back and
I should say
witnessed.
it's also about the entire church community and the people who are in it.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Yes.
I watched from the back, and it seemed to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of your service, you are facing away from the congregants.
Yes.
Why, is there a reason for that?
I think
you're facing east when you do that, but
I think the Latin phrase for that is ad orientem. So that the priest is facing away from the people because the priest is leading the people in their worship of God. In fact, the priest is actually an icon of Christ. Christ is the chief celebrant of every service, and the priest is just the living image of him, or the bishop if the bishop is present, more so. So the priest is not facing away from the people so much as he is facing towards God and presenting the prayers and things. And then when he turns around, it's because he's turning to bless the people or to bring communion out and things like that. So that was, until relatively recently, that was the norm in all churches. I don't know. I know that the Roman Catholics changed from the priest faces east to the priest faces west, and that's not a universal thing, I think, even for them. I don't know when the Protestants started facing west. Towards the people.
Yeah. What's the relationship with the Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church today with the new Pope and everything?
I mean, that's over my head. I don't think that it is substantially changed from the last Pope. I know there have been, the Patriarch of Constantinople, His All Holiness Bartholomew, and His Holiness the Pope have met on at least twice, at least two occasions, and it's been.
There is a relationship.
Yeah, there's been a good relationship between East and West since I think the 50s, and then that's not to say there was a particularly acrimonious relationship before that, but right. It's been getting better.
But there's a lot of history.
Yeah, there's a lot of history. 2,000 years of history, and that's not to say that we're going to announce a reunion tomorrow.
I know, I didn't expect that to happen.
But it is, generally speaking, broadly speaking,
a good thing.
Like, yes, there you go. I was my mind suddenly blank. I didn't have any vocabulary anymore.
We're going to take a break. We're talking to Father Timothy Cook. He is the priest here at St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church. And, of course, it is Greek festival time. Believe it or not, another year has gone by, and we are here at the Greek festival, which opens at 12 noon today and runs all weekend. Our broadcasts are sponsored by our friends at Woolfiles, 5818 State Street in Saginaw, and they're featuring steel products. Dad would love to have some steel tools to work around the house and do things that he enjoys doing. There's a straight shaft grass trimmer. It features a fuel-efficient engine, and, of course, it's steel, easy to start. Right now you can save $300 and get a free extra battery included, and that's $30, by the way. I'm sorry. You save $30. You get a free extra battery included in the purchase of the ESA 86R. One of the many, many steel tools you will find at Woolfiles is one of the largest steel displays in the state. Stop into Woolfiles, 5818 State Street in Saginaw. We thank them for our sponsorship. Greek Festival opens up at 12 noon, just in time for lunch today. And, of course, you can find pasticcio, moussaka, spanakopita, tiropita, dalmathus, and loukoumades. Greek pastries, baklava, chocolate baklava, which really caught my attention, and many, many others. And you can get a sampler box, too, with all of them in there. It's all happening at the Greek Festival. Lots of entertainment going on beginning at 12 noon and runs all weekend here at St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church, the corner of Mackinac and McCarty here in Saginaw. We will be back with Father Cook after these notes.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you
We're back with you at the Greek Festival, 47th Greek Festival, here at St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church. We're having a conversation with Father Timothy Cook, who is the priest here at St. Demetrius. And surprise to me, we were just having a conversation during the break, and you've been here 11 years. It's just, I don't know where the time has gone.
I don't either.
Yeah, here we
It
are.
doesn't feel like 11 years.
Let me ask this, Tim. There's been a lot of polls and surveys on religion in America, and a lot of the mainstream religions have lost congregates. How is the Greek Church doing?
I mean, it's going to vary from church to church, parish to parish, but broadly speaking, it's the Orthodox Church across the board has been seeing a influx of, we call them first inquirers, and then when they express they want to join the church, then become catechumens. And there's been an influx of those across all Orthodox jurisdictions over the last, I'd say at least the last 2 years. So,
has anybody done a poll as to find out where they're coming from in terms of their beliefs and their backgrounds?
It varies pretty widely. Year to year and parish to parish. Here, I can tell you that the people who have been coming in are, broadly speaking, not coming from a religious background. They're either coming from...
The minimum wage for tipped workers was revised under SB 8, which, through legislative action, tried to find a balance for rapid wage and benefit. The minimum wage for tipped workers was revised under SB 8, which, through legislative action, tried to find a balance for rapid wage and benefit increases that were set to take place. It didn't sit well with organizations like One Fair Wage, who...
Hi, we're back with you here on WSGW in conversation with Father Timothy Cook. He is the priest here at St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church, where the Greek Festival is taking place, and it opens up at 12 noon today. There'll be entertainment throughout the day, today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Today from noon till 11 p.m., same tomorrow, noon to 11 p.m., and then Sunday from noon to 4 p.m., and after 4 o'clock, the admission is only $3. Kids 12 and under, below, they're free admission for all until after 4 o'clock. And also, one of the things that happens here, Father Cook, you give tours of the church, don't you?
I do. Or one of us does.
Somebody does.
Sometimes it's my wife, Presidenta Catherine. Sometimes we have parishioners do it. When we had Father Peter Bisloridis here, who was the priest in residence, he lived in Saginaw, but he got sent all over the place. He's down in Flint now. He would do church tours, too. So
it's a beautiful church, too. I mean,
it
iconography is iconography unique to the Orthodox Church?
No. You'll find iconography across all Christian jurisdictions, though they don't always call it that. But iconography just means images. An icon just means picture. That's the Greek word for picture. Iconography, though, in the Orthodox context, refers to a particular style of images that are unique to the church. So you're not going to find iconography used to depict, say, a pop artist. And there's a reason for that, because we use these images in prayer. We use these images in our worship services. And so when you do that over a long period of time, the image itself becomes a cue to prayer and an aid to prayer. And that's true of everything that we do that involves the senses. It's also true of, say, incense, which is why we don't use incense just like to make our house smell better, because it becomes and is an act of prayer and an extension of our prayer.
So how different to the lay person if they went to a Roman Catholic service and they went to a Greek Orthodox service, other than the fact that the language, obviously, how different are the belief systems and the methods of praying?
I mean, coming from a Roman Catholic church to St. Demetrius, the language probably wouldn't be much of an issue, because 98% of our service is in English now.
Depending so it's moved in that direction.
Depending a little bit on the
right?
day. So, like, if because that depends on who we see in the pew. So, a weekday service might have a greater percentage of Greek, and we're trying to incorporate some Arabic too, because we have a large number of parishioners from Palestine and from Syria and Jordan, which is great. We actually have parishioners from all over the world,
that they
including
would go to the Orthodox Church. That's interesting.
Well, Actually, it makes a lot of sense because there have been Arab Christians far longer than there have been Arab Muslims, and actually the Christians in Syria, Jordan, and Palestine, they go back to Roman times. I was talking to a good friend of mine who is in the Antiochian Archdiocese, and he was pointing out that since it's illegal to convert to Christianity, anybody who is in those areas and is still Christian are presumably descended from the people who were Christians when the Muslims took over those countries. And so they have been Christians for
go back to what you
minimum
said,
1,500 years.
To convert?
Yes. It was, at least for many years, punishable by death.
Convert from what? From the Muslim faith? Or
yes.
No kidding.
Actually, so I mentioned that when the church is consecrated, there are relics that are placed in the altar. The relics that we have are from the 5 neo-martyrs of Samothrace, who converted to Islam, or were first forced to convert to Islam, depending on which story you read. I think the latter. And then when they returned to Christianity, they were executed by a particular governor of Samothrace. So
history you don't know about. It's fascinating.
There's a lot of history that I don't know about.
I doubt that.
Oh no, well, we're making history every day. We just don't think about it.
Well, that's true. Has the church changed much? I mean, everything changes with time, but it doesn't seem to impact religious organizations as much as those outside of religion. Is it different now than when, say, you were ordained?
Well, we put a tile floor into part of the church last year, but the big things don't change. Little things like how we dress, and less so how we dress in the church, at least as far as the clergy goes, but in terms of how we dress and how the language that we use, that changes and gets updated as we go along, just because that's how culture and language work.
As long as the message doesn't change.
Right. So the timeless truths of Christianity are always the timeless truths because they're timeless. It's just that it's actually our canon law professor at the seminary explained it like this: that this is the difference between dogma and canon law. That canon law is the constant work of retranslating the timeless dogmas of the church into the local culture, the local time, the local language, which is why it changes sometimes from century to century.
It's an interesting discussion on dogma, because you wonder how does dogma come into play in terms of what we believe and how we believe it.
You mean, where does it come from? I mean, for us, that's very easy and simple. It comes from God. All dogma is divine revelation. Because what dogma means is this is who God is, and this is who we are, and so that can only come from God, and that does obviously for the same reason it doesn't change. But what that looks like in terms of how you live that out, and from culture to culture and place to place, will vary somewhat. And it's kind of interesting to be a Christian in America, because even though there have been Christians in America for 200 years, Orthodox Christianity is newer. We've only been here for about 100 years. And it takes a long time for the church to adopt a national flavor in that way. Because it just takes a long time for those things to grow together.
Other than language, how different is, say, the Greek Orthodox Church from a Russian Orthodox Church? Much of a difference? Is there a difference, other than language? He's thinking.
I'm trying to, because I was chrismated in a, I'm not sure you can call it a Russian Orthodox Church anymore, because it was founded by Russian immigrants. I was chrismated there. That was my first taste of the Orthodox Church, and then I joined a Greek Orthodox Church, and obviously I'm a Greek Orthodox priest now. And I'm trying to remember how different it looked, if it looked different at all. And I think it was just that going from one church to the other, one was bigger. And I didn't notice. I mean, there are like
more about the building than the service.
Well, no, it's
In
just
this
there are minor stylistic differences, but there was no culture shock going from one to the other.
How do we end up with all these? I don't want to use the word. I guess I have to use it just to define what I'm thinking. So many splinter groups that all are under the Orthodox umbrella.
If you mean like between Russian Orthodox and
Russian,
Greek Orthodox?
Greek Orthodox, yeah.
They're not
all the
splinter
others.
groups. They're just the local church where they call them local churches. So each autocephalous is the other word, meaning self-headed.
So is orthodoxy the overriding
Yeah.
principle then?
Yes. So the Russian Orthodox Church is the Orthodox Church in Russia, and the Greek Orthodox Church is the Orthodox Church in Greece. We're actually under the Patriarchate of Constantinople, or Istanbul, if you prefer. And same thing for like Romania, Serbia, Georgia, the country, not the state, and so on. And broadly speaking, the reason for the jurisdictional difference is just that it's a lot easier to administer an organization when everybody speaks the same language and is more or less in the same political space.
So who is the titular head of the Orthodox Church?
There isn't one.
You don't
There
have
is-
a pope.
There is not. Well, we have several popes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Because pope just means father, and so the Greek word patriarch is the same word as the Latin word pope.
Sure.
In fact, the Orthodox Patriarch of Alexandria in Egypt is also called pope. I'm guessing Latin was just a more prevalent language there than some other places. But though there is no one bishop who is in charge of the entire Orthodox Church. When there's an issue that requires the entire Orthodox Church to be, that affects it all, then all the bishops get together in council and work through it. I'd like to say that it's never a messy process, but
You'd like to say that.
I'd like
but-
to say that.
Well, which is true
But
everywhere.
by the grace of the Holy Spirit, it works.
And if I remember right, let's revisit.
Which I should actually say, there is a head of the church, and it's Christ.
God. Yeah, I was going to say we're back to God again.
Yes,
And
but
we're
there's no one bishop.
Let me ask. I've asked you this before too, but it's interesting. What drew you into the priesthood? And I guess the question is, was it a conscious decision?
Yes. Though it was also a discernment process that lasted some time. In fact, when the bishop asked me to go to seminary initially, my first response was that I didn't think I was worthy. To which I think he said, "Well, none of us are," but that's
That's another story.
and so he actually sent me to the seminary as part of the discernment process. So he said, "Go and see how it goes, and if it turned out this is not where you're being called to serve, then we'll switch from a Master's of Divinity to a Master's of Theological Studies, and we'll do something else." It stuck. It is,
Obviously.
so
What's the best part of it?
of the priesthood, the people.
I knew that was
It
going to be the answer.
is a
It's a people profession, isn't it?
It is, and it's a weird privilege sometimes, but you have the privilege of being present with people when they come into the world, and not in the room at that moment, but
I gotcha.
the day of, the priest comes and does a blessing when they come into the world, at their all their significant moments throughout their lives,
and,
not just their baptism, but
and when they leave the world.
right, and each one of those it's a privilege. I've seen a lot of grace and a lot of wonderful things, and but it's also a privilege to be there with the hard things, and to work through those things with them. And there's a lot of even in the most awful situations, there's always grace.
Your orthodoxy and the Orthodox Church allows priests to be married. You're happily married with 5 youngins.
Yes.
Roman Catholics cannot, and as I understand it, that's not biblical in nature. Do you ever see it changing in the Catholic Church? And I know that's outside your realm and scope, but
Well, you
I was
just
going to ask anyway.
asked and answered. I have no idea. I can't speak for I can't speak for the entirety of the Orthodox Church, except in specific things where I've been given the blessing to speak. I definitely can't speak for the Roman Catholic Church.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back. We're talking to Father Timothy Cook. He is the priest here at St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church, where this weekend, starting at noon today, the Greek Festival takes place. This is the 47th time the Greek Festival is taking place. We'll have DJ Feta on stage at noon. At 1 o'clock, some dancers. At 1:30, DJ will be back. 2 o'clock to 2:30, there's a dance group. There's more music by the DJ. He alternates with all of the stage entertainment. There are several different dance groups that are going to be entertaining. And, of course, when you come to the Greek Festival, you come in part for the food. They have a gyro tent with gyros and chicken gyros and Greek fries and calamari. There's the main tent where you'll find all of the fabulous Greek food like pasticcio, moussaka, spanakopita, and triopita, and dalmathis, and loukamatis. Lots of Greek pastries and all kinds of beverages. You're going to find it all here at the 2025 edition of the Greek Festival here at St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church. Come on out and enjoy yourself. Good fellowship. It's going to be nice weather all weekend. Perfect for the Greek Festival, and how unusual. And we will be back.
I'm talking again with attorney Jerry Wright.
And a good morning and welcome back to the Greek Festival, where we're broadcasting today at St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church at the corner of McCarty and Mackinac Roads. And we're talking to Father Timothy Cook. It's become an annual privilege to sit down with the Father and chat about religion in the world and in America. How big is the Orthodox movement in the United States?
That's kind of hard to tell because so every parish, and this is probably true not just for the Orthodox Church, but every parish has three numbers that we use when talking about how many parishioners we have. And those are the mailing list, which is the largest. Then there's the regular stewardship list, the people who give regularly to the church. And then there's the people who show up every Sunday. And those are ranked from largest to smallest.
Starting with the mailing list as the largest, and those that show up the smallest.
Show up every week. You know, everybody on that list is going to show up regularly. That might mean once a year, but that's still regular, as one bishop once said. So it's a little hard to nail down exactly, and I don't know the exact number. It is probably both smaller than we think and larger than we suspect, if that makes any sense at all.
But a lot of it is family. The Greek culture is family-oriented, isn't it?
It is very much so. I'm going to say, though, that
we share something
human nature is family-oriented.
Well, but some more than others. I mean,
we forget it sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's my religion, Judaism is family-oriented, too. But sometimes you you wonder sometimes. I just, in this day and age, I'm one of those who believes that social media has been the boon and the bane of society, and I don't think it's helped